My name is Bill Phillips, and today I'm interviewing Cass Phillips, who is no relation, but I wish you were my brother. But here we are at the Naval Air Museum in Pensacola, and I understand, Cass, that you were a Navy man.
That's exactly right. I'm retired from the Navy, retired way back in 1960.
How did you come to be in the Navy?
Well, I was living in California, and during the weekend we would go down to Long Beach to go to the beach and look around. And I would see the carriers out there. There were two of them, the Saratoga and the Lex. And then there would be a battleship, the California or something else maybe. And I took a couple of trips out. On the weekend they would take you out in the boats and you could walk around in the ship. And I looked around on that, and those young sailors were all dressed up in their nice, neat, clean uniforms, and their girlfriends out there, and they'd be sitting talking, and everything looked so wonderful that I just decided I had to be in the Navy.
So when did you join?
I joined in 1938.
Where were you?
I was living at that time in Berkeley, California. And I had to wait until I was 18 to get taken in. And then they took us over to San Francisco, gave us a physical, put us on a train, took us to San Diego, and that's where I went through boot camp.
What happened after boot camp?
Well, I got lucky and got selected for radio school, which was at that time over at the destroyer base in San Diego, and went through radio school. It took maybe 3 months, maybe a little bit longer. And then I was assigned to the USS Argonne, which was carrying a flag at that time.
Flag officer?
Yes, an admiral. Okay. And he was commander base force, and we were the communication ship of the fleet, of the entire fleet.
Okay, so you were the Admiral's radio man. Well,
we were attached to the flag, yes, but we seldom saw the admiral.
Okay. Where was the ship most of the time?
San Pedro. And the lucky thing about that was we were tied up to a buoy, and when the fleet went out, we stayed in San Pedro, so we were still going over to the dances and dancing with all the girlfriends, et cetera, and having a good time. But it was fun, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Did you like being a radio man?
Yeah, I did. It was pretty bad hours. You were up all night sometimes, but generally you would have a watch that would go up to midnight. Then maybe you would have one from midnight to 4 and then 4 to 8. So you had uncertain hours, but it wasn't bad. I enjoyed it.
I understand that on December 7th, 1941, you were in a special place.
Yes, I was. I was attached to VP 11, and which was based at Kaneohe, Naval Air Station Kaneohe, across the island from Pearl Harbor. And I was a flight crewman, an aviation radioman, flying in the PBYs at that time.
Well, how'd you get from being a radio man to being an aviation crewman?
Well, you got assigned to a squadron first. And then, of course, if you had a specialty rating like that, why, it didn't take long before you would have a position in a crew.
Okay. And where exactly were you at on December 7th?
Well, I was up getting ready to go have breakfast, and we heard the noise and looked out the window and saw the planes flying by, and we thought that they were Army planes. The Army had been having maneuvers at that time for about 2 weeks, and I said, look, they're really making this look realistic, aren't they? They've got meatballs painted on the side of the planes. And then we walked out and went over to the exchange to have breakfast, and those girls were scared to death that worked in there. And said, what's the matter? Well, they're shooting and they're dropping bombs and so forth down at the hangars. And we looked down, and here everyone was running toward the hangars. There was smoke coming up from the planes. And so immediately we knew that that's where we needed to be. And so we went to the hangars, and they had one flight across before we got there, and then after we were there for a period of time, another one came across.
Another wave of Japanese attacking
That's
planes.
right, bombing the hangars and shooting up the airplanes. We had just gotten back to Kaneohe from the States, had come back with old planes and had taken brand new PBYs out there, and they got all but two of them. Either burned them up or made them unusable. Mm-hmm. And the next day, since we had those two planes left, they said, okay, you two crews, and mine was one of them, said, get in these planes, take them over to Pearl Harbor, and you're going to fly out of there because all of the maintenance was going to be done over there. So we started flying patrols out of Pearl at that time.
What was it like in those days right after the attacks?
Well, it was kind of scary and kind of hustle bustle, and we went to the barracks. I had lived in the barracks on Ford Island before I went to Kaneohe. Went to the barracks to stay, but it was so dark that we didn't want to sleep there. So we got ourselves some cots, and three of us put those cots in the hangar where the maintenance was going on. So we made a bed there and slept. And an incident that happened was they would work on the planes, and when they finished, they would open the big hangar doors, take them out to run them up, and then when they closed those doors, it would sound like a bomb going off. Wow. So we were in bed to sleep, and they took a plane out, slammed those doors, and all three of us jumped out of bed and headed outside and jumped in a pit that was out there. And we looked around, and no one else was excited but us. And we saw what had happened, and so we got a laugh and went back to bed.
During those days, I imagine Ford Island was a really busy place because they're still trying to rescue people in the capsized battle.
Oh, yeah, it was. I'm sorry to say that I didn't go over and watch much of it because we were busy flying, you know.
Sure. You had your job to do.
And yeah, we had patrols to run and so forth. So I didn't go over there and watch any of the recovery.
Right, I'll bet. And you went on to have a career in the Navy, right? Did
Yes.
you get commissioned?
That's right. After my first tour of duty in the Aleutians, I was commissioned ensign.
Okay.
And then when, as time went on, I received a permanent commission as regular USN. And then, of course, there was no doubt from the time that I got into the Navy that I was probably going to stay. And then when I got a commission, I knew I was going to stay, and retired in 1960.
With what rank?
Lieutenant Commander.
Very good. Now, since your time, have you been able to go back to Pearl Harbor at all?
Well, since I retired, yes, I've been there one time. My wife and my son was flying for Continental Airlines, and he was able to get us tickets to Australia. And so he made us a present of a trip out there, and we flew to Oahu. And during that time, my wife and I got a car, and we drove around all those places, and then came back through there when we came home.
What year was that?
Oh, gosh. That's a long time ago. I can't remember. It's at least 15, 20 years ago.
Have you been to back for a December 7th commemoration?
No, I have not.
Would you like to go this year?
I would love to go. That would be a real trip for me to see those places again and remember how it happened and how it was from the eyes of a 21-year-old.
Yeah. What would it mean to you to be back there this year for the 70th anniversary?
Well, it would be the trip of my life, I guess. You know, I would really enjoy it.
Sure.
Yeah. And I want to thank you people who are doing this, who got this going and who are keeping it going. because otherwise I probably would never go back again, I'm sure.
Is there anything else that you want to say? Did we leave anything out?
Well, nothing except that I enjoyed all of my life in the Navy. I got more out of it, far more out of it than I ever expected to when I enlisted. And I don't regret a minute of it, not a minute.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much. For
Oh,
being
you're
here
welcome.
today. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.